Good afternoon, I'm Al Kresta. We'll continue with your calls on this Direct to My Desk segment. I mentioned earlier the extraordinary arrogance of the cast of Hamilton, the musical on Broadway. After the election, lead producer Jeffrey Seller told the New York Times, quote, "We had to ask ourselves, how do we cope with this? Our cast could barely go on stage the day after the election." Let me tell you how you cope with that. You get some Republicans in the cast. I mean, if your cast was so thoroughly appalled by the election, it tells me you don't have a very diverse cast. That's what it tells me. And so the cast, so that Mike Pence and his family was there leaving the theater after the curtain call, and the actor who played Aaron Burr, who has very strange history on Twitter, by the way, asked the audience to get out their smartphones and start filming. All right. And then he knew right away what was going on here. He knew, as their ad hoc spokesman, that there was going to be no debate. There's not going to be an opportunity for Mr. Pence or anyone else to reply because he was the guy holding the microphone. And two, it was going to draw more attention to the show itself, which, of course, is a commercial concern. And so he thought he had nothing to lose on this. This is what he said. "We, sir, we are the diverse America who are alarmed and anxious that your new administration will not protect us, our planet, our children, our parents, or defend us and uphold our inalienable rights. We truly hope that this show has inspired you to uphold our American values and to work on behalf of all of us." And then he went on to add sexual orientation to this list. Okay. Now, Pence handled it real well. Eventually, he came out and said, "This is what freedom sounds like." Nicely done. But I want you to understand something here. We didn't see this happen when Bill Clinton beat George H.W. Bush, and conservatives were shocked. We didn't see it when President Obama beat Mitt Romney or John McCain. We didn't see conservatives crying or calling for safe zones or afraid that they were going to be losing their religious liberty. If Mrs. Clinton had won, you wouldn't have seen conservatives running around. They would have been upset, but you wouldn't have seen them on college campuses asking for cry-ins, right? Look, if Pence had called the cast of Hamilton out in the way that the cast called him out, he would have been accused of being abusive. What's abusive is for these actors to exploit the audience who paid lots of money, to perhaps escape the world or, get out of the whole discussion of politics. They want to go see a play. And now they find themselves captive to a cast that's supposed to be respecting their audience. This is what they did wrong. They didn't respect their audience. They used their audience. They patronized their audience to make a cheap political point and do a little bit of political theater. Their producer doesn't pay them to do this. The audience didn't pay them to do this. Apparently, they can't command a political audience anywhere unless they fool people into coming to a play. Look, nearly half the American voters voted for Trump-Pence, and they're seated in the audience there. So again, this shows a complete lack of respect for one's own audience. And it also shows extraordinary insularity and parochialism. I wish somebody had stood up that night and said to this guy who was playing Burr, "Buddy, what is diversity? Do you think it's difficult to accept a person with different DNA or skin color or a different land of origin? That's nothing. That's easy. Diversity is about accepting those with whom you profoundly disagree. Jesus talked about diversity in its most extreme form when he said, 'Love your enemies.' So here you are holding your audience captive, giving a political speech, trying to embarrass the vice president-elect, and you're not even loving your friends here. You're indulging your own political passions. And the irony is, sir, that you get away with it because your cast is not diverse. I bet none of your cast voted Republican, if they voted at all. You boast diversity, and then you make sure that your tribe doesn't show any. You're the one who's parochial. You're the one who's uncomfortable with diverse opinions. You've so poisoned your own imagination that you confuse the duly elected governor of Indiana and now the duly elected vice president. You confuse him with political interlopers and tyrants. That isn't what we've got. Mike Pence is no tyrant. He's a conservative. Half the American people voted for him. So get over it. You know, you want to believe that those with whom you disagree are secretly slave owners or anti-Semites. That's not true. They are those who, advocate limited government, want lower taxes, are pro-life. They want to end the sham political correctness and this political discourse that boasts that you, sir, you're taking the high moral ground when all you're doing is increasing polarization and hate by refusing to understand the other side in this political debate. So stop being silly. Stop making a fool of yourself and get back to do what you're good at. You're an actor. Go play the minstrel. That's your profession. Do it well. Shut up and sing. That's what you were paid to do. That's what should have happened. Because this is the poison that is out there against conservatives, evangelical Protestants, conservative Catholics. We have been victimized by a false narrative about American political history. And Catholic apologists know this because they see it when it comes to Catholic history, the way it's twisted. And now is a good time for us to say, we're just going to, you were rude, young man, you were rude. And I'm going to keep saying that you're rude. That's all. You want to be rude? You want us to know you're rude? Keep talking.